because I didn't even want to be around my daughter sometimes. And that's really sad to say out loud. And I don't think I've ever said that out loud. I didn't want to be around her. I would have to tell my partner, Eric, hey, like, please take her. Like, I just can't right now. When you become a mom, you have so much more appreciation for your mom. I was like, how did you do it? You had 3 kids. Like, when did you have time for yourself? And she was like, I just did it. I hadn't had a period in like 3 years. Wow. And I was in the process of getting tested to see like what's going on.
Quick question, and you were on any contraceptive or just?
No.
Wow, so just no period for 3 years?
No, wow. So I had already been off birth control for 5 years.
Hi mama, you're doing amazing. I know the challenges of navigating through postpartum life, and I'm here to be a village in a world where the village is often missing. My name is Elo, and I'm the host of the New Mom in Town, the Postpartum Podcast. Today's guest is Roxy, a toddler mom, a wardrobe stylist, and a mom who was in deep depression but finally learning to get out of it. On this episode, we discuss the challenges of finding the identity in motherhood, coping with postpartum body insecurities, and how it's possible to be in premenopause in your 30s and still get pregnant. Let's get into it. So tell me postpartum depression. How did it look for you?
Oof. Postpartum depression, I would say, is like the hardest thing that was for me, because I just felt like a zombie. Like, it hit me hard because I don't know if it was because I was older when I had a baby or it just hits everybody different. I don't want to say it was because I was older because everybody has different experiences, but it hit me pretty hard, and it was like really sad because it was like I couldn't control what was happening, and I'm a very controlling person. Like, I want to be able to like navigate my life the way I want, and postpartum was like, nope, it's just going to be a different story. So I just felt like I was out of it. I felt like I wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And what the worst part was is that now looking back, I feel guilty, but I felt like it wasn't my fault. Like, I know that now, but at the time I didn't, because I didn't even want to be around my daughter sometimes. And that's really sad to say out loud. And I don't think I've ever said that out loud.
Thank you for saying that here.
Yeah, like I didn't want to be around her. I would have to tell my partner, Eric, hey, like, please take her. Like, I just can't right now.
But that's, you know, at least you're open about it and you were able to communicate that with your partner, because that's very hard to even admit in the trenches of like that postpartum depression. Wow. Did that happen for you like right away, or did it take a little bit, or how long? What was the time frame?
I will say that I started depression while I was pregnant. So it was definitely, I think when I spoke to doctors about it, they wanted to put me on medication. I'm not saying that like medication is for everybody, like whether you do medication or not, that's up to you. But me personally, I just didn't want to. And it was I think it hit me harder because of the industry I was in. I was in the entertainment industry, and I was used to working a lot, and it's like, oh, you gotta step back and slow down. So it was a big career change, and depression happens a lot for people. When something in your life changes quickly, depression can happen.
Drastic change.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, you went from working 5 days a week to like, now you gotta slow it down, girl. And it was just like, you're no longer who you were. So I was kind of upset that I couldn't be who I was. So I think my depression started, I know my depression started when I was pregnant. And like I said, did you take the test whenever you went to the doctor? They like have you do a test on how you feel, like stressed out, like, did they make you take a test?
I didn't, only because I went to midwifery, so
okay.
It was more chill, and they would just kind of like get that kind of information from me, from my, you know, the way I looked or my heartbeat or something.
Okay. I wish I would have done that, just because every time I went to the doctor, I was like taking a test, and they were like, how stressed do you feel? And I answered it like honestly, and they're like, they come in and they're like, hey, we have to tell you that like normally with your test scores, like we would send you to like a different office because this is like really bad depression. And I'm like, what? Like, I just answered it. Like, I'm not going to hurt myself. I just don't feel right. Like, and they were like, yeah, we want to put you on medicine.
While pregnant?
Yes. Wow. And it's safe for the baby. And that's what they told me. And I'm like, you know what? Like, yes, I'm depressed. And like I said, if you decided to take medication, that's your own choice. But for me, it was not right. Like, I didn't want to risk any chance of side effects. It's like, yeah, you say it's safe, and then years now you're going to be in like a lawsuit, like something. It happens all the time. They say it's safe, and then it turns out it's not. So I said no.
That's crazy. So then you were already depressed. Would you say like towards, let's say, the end of the third trimester, the whole time, or starting when you had to kind of like slow down from work?
When I had to slow down from work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say probably like 5 months in, and it's like your body's changing. Like I was one of those like, oh, I don't want to wear the stretchy pants, like, you know, and especially it sounds so bad, but like I'm into fashion. That's what I do. And it's like when you're having to change like and create like a new look for your body, it's like, what is happening? Like, no. But I mean,
it was the worst for me. I'm like, until I really couldn't anymore, I was like, no, I'm still gonna wear the same jeans. I'm just not gonna button them. Like, whatever, I'm pregnant, it's stylish. Like, no, Elo, why don't you just get some maternity clothing? Like, I was like, no, I'm not getting them.
I finally gave in.
Me too. I'm like, I have to do it.
Because it became so uncomfortable where you're just like trying to wear the jeans, and it's like, yeah, this isn't working.
It was life-changing. When I got into maternity clothes, I was like, this is what leggings are supposed to feel like when you're pregnant? Like, why was I putting myself through that? But I think it's like, as a first-time mom and as being, like you said, like you're in that industry, or for me, it's just like, I needed to have this type of look, and now things are changing. It's very hard on the mind. So you had all that postpartum depression, and I think for most of it was because you really wanted to go back to work. Like, it was like your career changing, but also I would say like what, your identity,
career. It's like nobody like warned you, or like not warned you. It was more like becoming a mom is such a beautiful thing, but correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you become a mom, your job is to be a mom.
Yeah, that's all.
Nothing else matters but being a mom. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I think becoming a mom and like, you know, working from home or doing content or doing the podcast or just anything really, trying to have some time for yourself, I have this huge appreciation for moms who cannot be stay-at-home moms and who are working and they have to go back to work, especially those that, you know, go back after 6 weeks or 8 weeks postpartum. I have no idea how they're doing it, but, you know, I pray for them every night. It's so hard. I don't even know how they do it, because how can you go to work and then come home and then still be a mom? Because a mom is still a full-time job, even if you're just doing it for, 4 hours. It's so much that you have to still give that you already gave at work.
I just think about my mom, and I'm like, I called my mom. When you become a mom, you have so much more appreciation for your mom. I was like, how did you do it? You had 3 kids. You were taking us to ballet, baseball, and my brother football, like all of those things. He was doing football for a little while. Like, when did you have time for yourself? And she was like, I just did it. And she had a full-time job and no help except for like my grandma. But even then it was like, I told her, I was like, I love you. Like, thank you for everything, because you gave up so much for me.
Yeah, that's true. Becoming a mom definitely has changed my outlook on a lot of things about moms, about parents, but about moms especially.
Yeah, it's like I call my mom, like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything I put you through, because wow. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So then, did you go back to work? Did you not go back to work? Like, what did you do?
So this is crazy. You would think I'm nuts, but I have a really good friend who I like hit him up, and I was like, listen, and this is while I'm pregnant, 8 months pregnant. I'm like, listen, if you need an assistant, like, I just want to work. Like, I need to like do something. Like, don't worry. Like, he's like, oh man, like he's like, Roxy, are you sure? And I'm like, listen, I have it in me. Tell me why I went to like go work wardrobe, and if you know wardrobe, they're long days, 12-hour days.
Wow.
While I was pregnant, walking around like Westfield Mall with the buggy with like the clothes in it, and just like wobbling my way through the mall just to feel normal again. And then I like was like, okay, I think that's when it really hit me, like, you can't be doing this. Like, literally carrying garment bags, having a buggy full of clothes. And God bless him, like, he was so like, listen, if this is what you want to do, like, and he did not like judge me and say like, oh, you're pregnant, you can't, or
That's nice.
anything. He was like so amazing, but he also was understanding whether like when I wanted to like sit down and just take a breather. But like, it's wardrobe was not the place for a pregnant girl to be. And I was just so stubborn that I'm like, I want to feel like me again. And I did that while I was pregnant and after I was pregnant. Probably like 4 months in, I was like, I'm ready to get back in it.
Wow.
And I did it for like a month. And then I felt good while I did it. But then after that, I felt bad.
So you did full time, and you're saying it's 12 hours and 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Wow, at 4 months postpartum.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you did that.
I felt good when I did it.
Okay.
I felt good. It took me, like, some people work out. Like me, it was like, I like to work. I like to do what I do. Like, I've loved what I do. And it made me feel good, but then it was like I was taken out of my reality for a little bit. But then when I got back home, I had all this guilt, like, why did you do that? Like, your baby needs you. And I feel bad about it now. Like, I feel so bad about it now.
Oh, I mean, you know, you can't feel too bad about it. Oh,
Yeah,
I know. Try to. I love that. It's okay. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I think it's very, like, as first-time moms, we go through it, and being like independent and workaholics and doing, you know, working on our careers and loving what we do, and then just out of nowhere putting a halt and stop to it is a wild ride. Like, I know what you're talking about. I wasn't in wardrobe, but I was traveling for work. I was independent. I was living my best life, and then just not being able to do that. At first I was like, this is so cool, pregnant. And then, you know, it hits you. You're like, whoa, who even is this person?
Right.
But I don't think you should, you know, have too much guilt about it.
Yeah.
You did what you had to do at that moment to help you. You have to you know, at that moment you have to be selfish, because if you didn't, what if your depression just got worse and then you weren't going to be a good mom to your daughter? Yeah. Maybe you had to go through that 1 month of like working and then realizing like, hey, this is not for me. I need to, you know, be there for my daughter. I think that was like your path in a way, you know?
Yes. I'm glad I did it, because I think that's what like you said, that's what you needed at that time to realize, like, this is no longer who you are at this moment. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe later, but at this time, this is not who you are.
Right. And it's a hard, you know, pill to swallow, but I think you did an amazing job. And even though maybe you have a little bit of guilt about it, I think it was a great decision you made. Because do you think it like shaped you into even a better mom?
Yes, and I think it made me come into like terms that like when work defines you, like, that's also not okay, because you're not really living. And I can finally say that, like, I'm living, because like work no longer defines who I am. And I guess that's like a lesson that I had to learn, because I was just like always work. My friends would be like, what are you doing? We can't, working. Mm-hmm. Like, and I was happy with that, but it's not how to live. Yeah. I mean, it may work for you, but like now I'm like, it doesn't work for me anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What defines you now?
My family.
It's beautiful.
My family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think once you have like a family, you realize that, and it's like, I know at the beginning, again, it's hard to realize that, but afterwards it's so rewarding. Like the hardships that you went through that we all went through in the beginning. I think it's so rewarding of like the love and the partnership, and even though in partnership things are up and down 24/7, but
yeah,
but
sure.
still, like you know you have like your family. It feels so good. So, do you now work? Do you not work? Like, how did you navigate through like getting yourself back and not being, so depressed?
I think I have a pretty good routine right now. I work 3 days a week versus 5 days a week, and it's not really like full days. I pick and choose like what I want to do. So I have a good balance, because even on the days that I do work, like I'm with my daughter till like 11, and then Eric, my partner, comes in and he, comes and takes over, and it's like I'm not gone all day.
Okay.
So I think I have a good work balance now.
Also, it's good to mention that your daughter now is almost 2.
She's almost two,
right?
Yeah, so she'll be 2 in January.
Wow.
And we're finally at a place where like we're figuring it out. So
congratulations, honestly.
Thank you.
You've come a long way.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but like it's definitely like it's been a long like trying to figure out who you are pregnant, trying to figure out who you are after the baby, and then finally starting to be like, okay, I'm okay with who I am. It takes a minute, but.
How was your dynamic with your partner, or did you have like support during like the postpartum depression? Like, how did all that work?
I think it was a little hard for him. I mean, because obviously, like, I think everybody forgets, like, we're going through so much, but we do forget, like, about our partners, that they're also going through a big change and transition. And I do think that it was hard for him. We did have to do therapy, because it was just like my emotions were just on another level, where it was just like there was just no communication happening, and it was like, okay, like what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And we went to therapy, and like thank God our therapist like helped us through that. I mean, it was just kind of like us learning how to communicate with each other, and I'm no longer the girl that you were like dating before I was like, you know what I mean? Like, you're a different person, versus when you have a baby, you're like a whole new person. So we had to learn how to find each other and work together. But for the most, like, no, overall, he was amazing. Like, when he needed to take Riley and give me that moment to, like, when I went to go to work, he was like, do whatever you need to do, and I'll figure it out. Wow. And I think that was the best thing for him, too, because, I mean, most dads don't even know how to change a diaper.
Absolutely. And I think it gives them some kind of, not control, but like they are able to like, yeah, I did this, and I can also take care of a baby, and he's my baby too,
Yeah, I have no problem. Like, I had girlfriends that were like, Eric, your boyfriend is taking care of your baby? And I'm like, yeah. Like, he's great with her. Like, he's amazing. Like, he's such a great dad. Like, yes, he changes her pamper, he feeds her, he does everything a mom would do, and he knows how to hold it down. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I think for a lot of people that is just, or maybe it's a societal thing, I don't know. It's just such a taboo, like dads don't know anything, they don't take care of the children, and now I'm so glad that you have a partner that is involved. I do too, and I love it. I feel so blessed, because I know that there's a lot of moms that don't have that, and it's just like they're on their own. Did you have like a mom community while going through all this? Like, how did you have like your friends? Were they still in, contact with you? Did you have like this weird loneliness going on and disconnect? Because I know I did, so I just want to know what you felt like.
I was so lonely, because I have friends that have kids, but their kids are older. And so, like, what I was going through is no longer what they're going through. Like, one of my best friends, she was great. She was like, you call me for, like, whatever advice you need. But even with that advice, you're going to do things your own way. Like, it's never going to be, you're going to get advice from everybody. You do things how you want to do. But finding moms that I can connect with has been, like, a really hard thing. And it's like you have to find a whole new friend group. And it's like...
It's definitely hard. Do you feel like at any point, because I know I did, resent your partner?
Oh, yeah. I did. I feel like his life completely came up and mine was just like going down. And that's what I felt at the time. He was doing great in his business. He can handle being a dad. And here I am just like, I can't do what I was like, I created this career that I worked for and spent all this time building. And it's like stepping back from it and having to let somebody help take care of you. And like, I just like looked at him and I'm like, oh, look at you. Just going off and doing your career while I'm over here just with the baby on my boob. It's like
it's hard. Even like after, like to this day, sometimes I feel that way. I'm just like, I go on walks every morning and I know I do it for me and my mental health. But in reality, I'm like, I can't just like wake up and do my own thing like I used to do, you know? Like he can get up and go to the gym. It's no problem. I just feel like I can't. And that's where like the resentment comes from. I get that.
Yeah, and I think that's also where we had issues with, you know, when we were going to therapy. It was like, hey, listen, like, you know, you're off doing your thing, but she's mourning who she used to be because that's no longer who she is, and you have to let her mourn, and you have to stop holding resentment towards him for him just living.
Yeah. And if, at the end of the day, really, it's like he's living, but he's also building for the family, you know?
Yeah.
But at that moment, you don't see it. I don't see it, you know?
Yeah, you don't see it at all.
No.
I'm like, he's waking up every day and he gets to go work.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you hear yourself? Like, you're complaining about him having to, like, going to work. He's going to work to, like, provide for his family. Mm-hmm. Not because he's like, ooh, I'm going to work.
Right, I'm running away from this, you know?
Yeah.
I know. But at that moment, that's what it feels like, and you feel this resentment. I mean, I feel like it's normal. I think a lot of first-time moms feel that, maybe even second-time moms, I'm not sure. But it's definitely hard. So how did you feel about, like, your body?
Oh, man, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Obviously, it's like I still don't love my body. It's so hard to look in the mirror. It's like so hard to look in the mirror, and that's so sad because it's like you give your it's like everybody's like, oh, you got to give yourself credit. Like you got to give yourself credit that like you pushed out this baby, and like, you know, you just have to love your body. And I'm just like, I don't. Like I want to. It goes back to you wanting to look the way you did before, and then you just like stop comparing yourself to other people snapping back. And like, I hate my body at this moment, and I'm trying to figure out, like, it's also a me thing. Like, I need to figure out how to put time into getting back to the way I want to be. Or just like, I think we were talking earlier, you say you work out for your mental health. Mm-hmm. I need to do that.
Yeah.
And I just keep like making excuses, like I'm exhausted. But I think it's just about getting into a habit of a routine.
Absolutely.
And I haven't made that effort yet. So I do blame myself for that. But at this moment, I do not like looking in the mirror. Like,
I get it. Same. I mean, it took me, I think like 8 months. No, I lied. Now I'm like 10 months postpartum. It took me like 9 months to lose the first like 8 pounds. And it was the hardest. And I know it's not like I was looking on the scale 24/7. It's more like how things were fitting me. But just knowing that my weight was not going down, even though things were fitting me different, was just so weird to me. Yeah. And when it finally did, I was like, oh my God, like finally. But again, I was consistently walking every day, and even though I don't want to go and do it, because now I feel like I'm just living like a Truman Show in a way, you know? Yeah. I just wake up, this is what I do, that what and I'm walking, I'm just like, now it's like not really fun anymore, but I try to remind myself that, hey, like you're doing this for your own mental health, and it's the body, I don't love it, and I'm not okay with it. And I had another mom tell me before that it's okay to not love your body. And, you know, of course, you're so happy and you're so grateful for what your body did to bring a human into this world, but it doesn't mean that we have to love our body in the way that it is right now.
And I think that's amazing that she said that, because it's like everybody's like, oh, you should love your body. And it's like, okay, well, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, and it's okay to say that. But it's like, I think it's okay to say that, but it's, what are you going to do so that you can feel better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. Like, what, okay, you don't love your body, so what can we do so that you feel better? Because it may, honestly, it may not just be my body. It may, like, mentally.
Yeah. Because I think once you kind of like let go, and this was even like before I was ever pregnant, during the time that I was like, I need to have a 4-pack, you know, like I was so adamant about it. And I feel once I would let go of it mentally, that, oh my God, if I eat this, I'm going to gain this much weight, you know, just being so negative about food and exercises in my body, that I would actually lose the weight or feel better in my own skin. And so I do think mental is also plays a huge role in just like starting to loving your body.
Right. I think the way I struggled with the work and wardrobe is the way you were a fitness girl.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I literally was like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm going to have a baby in January. I'm going to have February, March, April, May, maybe a little bit June to snap back. And then it's summer, and then it's bikini season. Like,
oh, yeah.
What world was I living in? Because it was clearly not the real world. I was in the Truman Show.
I look on Instagram and I'm like, these girls had this baby when 2 months ago, and you're like in a bikini? Like, what?
Where's your belly? Where's your pooch? Where's your arms? Where's everything? I don't get it.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, how? What are your secrets?
Even like I have spoken to moms that are like in that, you know, that way with their bodies, and even they still have issues, and they don't know who that body is and who they are in the identity crisis. I think it doesn't matter what we look like. We always look at other people, but I think it doesn't matter what shape and form a mom is. A mom is always going to be like, who is this person?
Right.
For like the longest time. They say it's like 2 years. I don't believe it. I think it's more than that, but it's so hard. Momming is very hard.
It's very hard. It's like, nobody could have ever prepared me for this. Like, there's no book that prepares you for becoming a mom. Mm-mm. Mentally, physically, like nothing.
Emotionally. And the thing is, I love being a mom. Motherhood has changed me for the better, even though I may seem crazier sometimes, but for the most part it changed me for the better, and I just love it so much. It's just like this unconditional love. I love my family, and then I think about it, I'm like, oh, but it's so hard.
So hard.
Well, it's easier on the dads because they don't get like the difference in their body, like dad bod, even though they say that they do.
My body's changed and you still look like you the same, and they eat everything that you're eating, and then they're just like, they don't gain a pound.
They don't. Or even if they do, like whatever, big whoop, they're gonna wake up and go to the gym. Like I can't just, I mean I could, but it's not the same. Like it's different. I can't just say, okay honey, like you're gonna take care of him and I'm gonna go. It's just different when you're a mom.
So Eric, my boyfriend, has an eating problem. He like wakes up in the middle of the night and like goes to he's probably gonna be so mad that I'm saying this. He goes and he'll eat like junk, like just junk, and he will not gain a pound. And I'm like, how do you do this every night? And it's like, I don't eat like you, and I'm like struggling here. And it's like,
those people.
Do you feel like when your partner becomes a dad, like he just gets hotter, and then like you're afraid to like let him go to a grocery store with your baby because I'm like, dude, you look too cute right now. Like, go sit down. And then it's like you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I just look like a mom. Like, how are you hotter? And I just look like mom. Like,
yeah.
what?
Maybe that's the reason why. Like, I don't think I've let my partner go to the grocery store.
You're going nowhere with our child.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, absolutely not unless I'm going with you. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God. Like, how do you look hotter with the baby? And it's just like, that's so not fair.
It is not fair. But do you feel like, would you be able to do this without your partner?
No.
Yeah.
no. I think that I think everybody, like, we live in a new society where everybody's like, you could do it on your own, you could do it on your own. And yeah, you probably could, but do I want to? No, I don't. I mean, having a good partner is like everything. And, you know, I know some people don't have that, and that's hard to see and hard to hear. But I think that having a partner is fit. It's like you're a mom, but having that other person to be there to help you with your kid is like so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I would be able to do it, and I just hate that sometimes, you know, in society it's been this thing like, oh, you don't need, you know, a man. But I definitely did. I definitely do.
And you know, I think that's what part of my problem was while I was pregnant, is that you have to become vulnerable when you're pregnant. Like, when you do become vulnerable. And it's like, you have to let this other person take care of you, because you can't take care of yourself right now. You just had a baby.
Yeah.
And having to hear that and be okay with that was hard, because it's like, I moved to LA when I was 19 by myself, like the first kid in my family to take off, you know, and I was so used to doing everything. I'm going to take care of me. Like, if I want that, I don't need a man to buy me this. I bought it for myself. And I was just kind of like in that, like, I take care of myself. And it's like you have to stop, because no, it's not just about you anymore. It's about your baby.
Yeah, and being okay with your partner now taking care of the household, including you, is very hard to kind of
let go
of. And I get that, like, even like financially and just like bills and this, it's just like it was so weird to me at first. And I mean, it's still kind of, it's a little weird, you know, but you kind of get used to it, and you kind of have to like learn navigating through it. And you're right, I think that's another thing about the whole losing your identity, because I felt like now I'm also losing like the control of, I don't know, like being in control of myself or of the household.
Right.
And I wasn't anymore.
And I'm so stubborn. I'm like, he's like, you just stay at home, I'll take care of things. I don't want to ask you for money. Are you kidding me? Like, it was like messing with my ego. Like, what do you know? Like, I don't want to ask you for money. I want my own money, and I want to be able to do things myself and not need you. And it's like, okay, like when you hear that, it's like, no, it's okay to have somebody to take care of you. Like, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with having somebody. There's nothing wrong. If I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, there would be nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
I choose to work because that's what makes me feel good. Mind you, I did took some steps back to like make it work for me and my baby, but it's okay to, like, if I were to be like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm okay with that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like another thing is sometimes you feel, because you always did everything on your own, I felt like I was putting a burden on him. Now, like, he's making me food, he's bringing this, he's cleaning this, he's doing that. I would be like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I would feel less than, because I'm not doing those things. And just coming to terms with that is also good, because I feel like I never said this out loud until now, and kind of like made me realize that has a lot to do with feeling resentment, even though he's really just helping me. He's literally holding this whole thing together, and I just feel resentment because I'm not doing it. And like you said, it's like we have to be just okay with, you know, letting help in.
And I think that we have to start teaching that. I know we're like in this whole new era of like, you could do it by yourself, but it's also, we should also be saying it's okay for you to have a partner and have somebody help you through it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's also because we're doing, like, the society is telling people like, you can do it, or you have to do it, you're the housewife or you're the mother or whatever. It kind of, women will put kind of like a halt on asking the partners to do certain things, which then maybe makes the partner more lazy, quote unquote, or they don't feel like they need to do something because nobody ever asked them before, you know? So I feel like that kind of becomes a problem then for the postpartum mama as well, because now she's doing everything and there's no help at all, even though there is a partner there. You know what I mean? So I feel like you said, having this kind of like open conversation about it is important, because it should be like a two-man job. In reality, it's a whole village man job, okay? It's a whole village, but in a household, it should be two, and there should be help from both sides.
And I've been really, really lucky with that. I mean, it's like you don't, but is it crazy that you're starting to realize it now versus when you were like in it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it takes time for you to like take steps back and realize, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. And like you said, you felt bad about the beginning of postpartum, because I did the same thing. I would always be like, I've cried a lot about it. I wish I was the mom I was at 6 months postpartum. I could be that mom when he was first born. You know what I mean? I wasn't a bad mom. I'm not saying that, but it's just like I wasn't the same, like that confidence. I didn't have that at, the beginning of postpartum.
I think about that now and I'm like, I really wish the way I feel now I could have felt with her when she was born.
Yeah, but then that gives me hope for like the second baby. If, God willing, there's a second baby, and I feel more confident and I can give the next baby this kind of like love that I felt like I didn't give him, even though I know I did, obviously, but just like that confidence of like, now I can really soak in and take in this newborn. Because even though I know I did and there's videos, but I don't remember it. I just hate that I don't remember it. Yeah.
It feels like a dream. Like I look back and I'm like, I don't remember her being that little.
No. I look at videos, I'm like, that's impossible. I don't remember doing that. And it's like this fog that you're in. But speaking of second baby, do you want another baby? I know that your first baby was really a surprise and a miracle.
Yes, so she's definitely my little miracle baby. So when I started dating Eric, he was very like, I want to have kids. Like, kids are so important to me. I work with kids, and I just, having a family is really important. And I hadn't had a period in like 3 years. Wow. And I was in the process of getting tested to see like what's going on.
Quick question, and you were on any contraceptive or just?
No.
Wow, so just no period for 3 years.
No, wow. So I had already been off birth control for 5 years.
Wow.
So I knew they said it would like take a while before you get a period, but it should not have taken that long. So when I was getting tested, the doctor told me, she was like, no, you're too young to be going through like premenopause. Like, there's no way. And then I was like, well, my mom went through menopause at 36, and I have a lot of people in my family that have gone through menopause pretty early. And then she was like, oh wow, okay. So they started doing testing, and they're like, yeah, the possibility of you having a baby is you're gonna have to go to other doctors to see if it's even possible, because we don't think it's possible.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is what the doctor is telling me.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, like how am I gonna tell my partner, who's also, he's younger than me, because at that time I was 38. I was like, how am I gonna tell him, like, hey, like, a family is not, like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Wow.
And we've already had been in arguments about it, because I was like very like in my head, because I already knew what I was going through. In my head, I was like, okay, let's just come into terms that you're not gonna have a baby, and like accept that you're okay with just being who you are. And he was like, no, I want a family. But at that point, it's like, I didn't really know what was going on with me, so I'm not going to be like, hey, I can't have a baby. Like, right. Because they were like, you need to go to other doctors. And then, surprise, they're like, surprise, like, guess what? You're having a baby. It's like, what? Like, how's that possible? I haven't had a baby, like I haven't had a period in 3 years. Like how is that possible? So she was definitely a complete shock. And they wanted to wait because my mom went through early menopause. They wanted to wait for me to stop breastfeeding to do the testing again to see if I was like going through premenopause. And they did, and they said the same thing. They were like, yeah, you're definitely going through premenopause. I haven't had a period after Riley. It's almost been 2 years. So I still haven't had a period. But they told me that the first time, so it's like, I don't know. So I'm in the process of getting more testing done.
Wow.
To see what's going on, because there's telling me that I am going through premenopause. And so I had to take Eric, my partner, in to the doctor with me so that he could hear this for himself, because I know he wants another baby, but the pressure of not being able to give him that, I just want him to come into terms like, hey, it might just be us three.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be okay with it, because this is what they're telling me. And I didn't want him to think that, like, oh, she totally, like, lied and said.
Of course.
So, not that I think he would, but, you know, we're girls. We think all over the place. And I was like, okay, like, come with me to the doctor. And he heard it. And so he's like, they told you that once. We could do it. Like, if God willing.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I can't believe that they made you, or they asked you to stop breastfeeding so they can do more testing. So, like, how far postpartum were you? When did you stop breastfeeding?
Well, they didn't ask me. They said, we want to wait for you to stop breastfeeding before we test you. But at that point, my depression was really bad, where I didn't want to breastfeed anymore. It was just like, I feel like a cow. Like, get the baby off me. Like, God bless anybody who's done longer than 3 months. Like, oh my gosh, more power to you. Like, that's amazing. But me, it just wasn't right for me, because I just like, I can't do it.
No,
like, I don't feel good. I don't like it. Everybody's like, oh, it's such a beautiful thing. It's like, I don't feel beautiful doing it.
And it's totally fine. And I just feel like that's another societal thing, you know, like everybody should be able to do whatever they feel like they need to do at that moment. I don't think, unless you are you've gone through postpartum, I don't think you understand the feeling you feel when you're in the trenches. It's wild.
It's so wild. They're like, it's a beautiful thing. Like, you should really do it longer, because, you know, it's healthier for your baby. That's what I kept hearing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then like the pressure of like, oh, well, like I would hear his other girls are like, oh yeah, like I pumped this amount of milk, and I'm like, yeah, I can barely get any milk out. I'm not doing this.
Right.
Forget it.
That's another
like,
thing.
Why am I putting myself through this?
Yeah, even more stress. Yeah, I think breastfeeding is very stressful, and to each their own. I think fed baby is best. So whichever way, you know, the baby is getting the nutrients, that's all that matters, really.
I did a little bit of both. I was able to like save some breast milk and then like mix it with formula, and I did that. But it was just like, at that point, like I told Eric, I was like, my partner, I was like, listen, this is not working for me. I don't want to do it anymore. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
At first he was like, oh no, we we have to keep doing it. It's the best for the baby. And like, I was like, and then he was like looking at like, I guess there's like women that donate their breast milk. And then he was looking into like that, like trying to get it from other people. And then it made me feel like crap, because I couldn't like produce enough milk. And he wasn't doing it to like hurt my feelings, but my feelings were like completely hurt. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we're just going to put her on formula. He's like, but breast milk is like what's best for the baby, because this is what he keeps hearing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was a formula baby. I'm fine. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you know? But my feelings were so hurt.
Absolutely. I mean, I had to get donated breast milk to supply, because I was an undersupplier, and that was my decision, and it was so hurtful. So I can only imagine. I mean, I know that like your partner did that to, you know, for the betterment, not to hurt you, but it's so hurtful. I think the whole breastfeeding journey is so painful, especially when mentally it's not really doing anything for you, or if you're undersupplier, or if you're constantly needing to do cluster cluster feeding, or like the people that co-sleep, and then there's always like on demand. It's so hard. Whether or not you love breastfeeding, it's a hard job on top of motherhood.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
That's what I said. Anybody that went past 3 months, God bless you. Like, that is amazing.
Absolutely.
Because I personally just couldn't.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And it's like it like mentally like messes with you.
It was definitely hard. Breastfeeding is not for the weak. So that's definitely a little token to take as a mother, that, you know, breastfeeding is not easy. But again, I always encourage any mom, do whatever you feel is good for you at that moment, because sometimes you do have to be selfish. And speaking of being selfish, so we ask a previous mom from the episode to ask the next mom a question. The question is, if you could do something for yourself to get a little bit of your self-identity back, what would it be?
I feel so guilty saying this. Selfishly, but yes, I think traveling, it sounds so crazy and so selfish, but like just a me trip alone. I used to do a lot of trips just myself. Like, I'd go to New York by myself, and like just small little things, like just traveling solo and just being by myself is like, I feel like I probably get a little bit back of me, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'll get me back. But then I think like it'll probably be like a day or two, because then I'll be like there and I'll feel so guilty and like, take me back to mom life. But yeah, I think traveling solo and not having your partner there or baby.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good one. Maybe we should take a solo trip together.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. We'll both be crying.
Yeah.
We're ready to come home.
Maybe we'll help each other so we won't have mom guilt.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think that's like what I would do, but I just feel so bad saying that, because I love Eric and my baby Riley. Like, I love them.
I know, but sometimes, you know, that's why this question is very hard, because you do have to be selfish about it, but sometimes we do have to do something selfishly to fill our own cup, to be the best versions of ourselves to our partners and our baby. Speaking of my baby.
Yeah, sometimes like I'm like, I just need me time. Like, don't talk to me, just don't leave me alone. Like, I just need me time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we forget about me time is important.
All the time. I mean, I don't remember the last time I was in the bathroom by myself. It's just like, that's just a thing nowadays. You know, you just have your baby with you. But to close off this episode, what's a question you would want to ask the next mom?
I guess I wish I had somebody tell me like what I could do to make postpartum easier. And like, maybe if there was women that gave, like if there was certain answers, like if there was like a book of like remedies of like how postpartum worked for them, like what did they do so that they could feel better, would be nice. Like, what did you do so that you could feel better about postpartum?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's a hard one and it's different for everybody.
It is, but it'd be nice like if you were able to like look up and see different things, and then just kind of like test what would work for you too, or...
Yeah. I mean, another thing, side note is, did you know that there was postpartum doulas?
No.
Exactly. And you know, that's something that I feel I would have benefited from so much. I don't think I would have gone through postpartum depression the way I did if I did have a doula. Yeah, so that's a thing. I feel like...
I mean, but what does that cost?
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that costs, but next baby shower, I'm going to say no gifts. Just give me money, because I need money for the postpartum doula.
Right. That's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I know there's like sleep training nurses and stuff like that, but I've never heard of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a business you can make out of everything. Huh?
Yeah. But I feel like this business is a really good one. I feel like we would have benefited from it.
No, I know. I'm saying that like there's just so much opportunity.
Yeah. Maybe we should
amazing.
become postpartum doulas.
Maybe. Hopefully this helps somebody so that they realize like you're not the only one going through this.
No, absolutely not. And you know, there's worse cases and there is better cases, but we're all in this together.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being
here.
Thank
you for having me.
Of course.
It's so nice to find a mom like that you connect with.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for joining me today and being part of this conversation. If you found this episode helpful or inspiring, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Your support truly helps other mamas find us. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and become part of our village so you never miss a new episode. We're all in this together. Until next time, mamas, take care and bye for now.